Coming up on the 70% Podcast. Election integrity with two special guests. First time on the show, Zach Howard, and our most repeat guest, the mighty Steve Thosenbach.
Mike never takes the check. In fact, sometimes he forgets his wallet.
Wow.
The 70% Podcast with your host, Amy Alexander and Mike Sewell.
Hello, how is everybody doing today?
Everybody or just me?
Just everybody.
Oh, okay.
We
everybody.
have guests today.
That,
Mike.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess everyone.
So, Mike, when there are guests here, it's not all about you.
Damn
and
it.
when they're not guests here, it's not all about you. But okay. But I usually let you go with it.
Yeah, no
So
doubt. I like
tonight we have Zach Howard.
Hello.
Hi, Zach. How are you doing?
I'm very well and happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. And we're talking about election integrity tonight.
Yes.
And so we also have Steve, who you've heard from before.
Yeah, Steve Thosenbach.
This is my third appearance on the 70%.
He's our biggest fan.
I once did Mike's part the whole night, and I understand that was like some of the best responses that we'd had.
Yeah.
Actually-
he got really mad
Actually,
because
what
he got really mad because you did his thing.
The feedback that I got on it was that was the worst podcast of the.
I get it.
So if I'm Kathy Lee, Kelly Ripa, whoever, and I need a replacement for Mike, then
I'm Ryan Seacrest.
yes.
Those people that understand that
expect
joke.
that.
Did you
don't.
understand the joke?
I did, but I didn't expect it to be that funny.
It slid in there as a side humor.
So anyway, how about those Packers?
So
Yeah.
tonight, thank you for joining us. Or today, I should say.
It's night. It's 7 o'clock. It's night. 7:30.
It's night.
Yeah,
we do record this on Tuesdays.
Yes.
Tuesday nights, and we bring it out on Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not even sure.
We're doing Thursdays now.
Thursdays
We're doing Thursdays now
at 5 a.m. or
to give
3
our
p.m.?
team some time to get all the background stuff taken
To edit
care of.
all your bullshit out because
Nice.
totally
I love
kidding.
It. I
sort
love
of.
it.
Yeah.
So, voter. What are we?
We're
talking about?
talking about election
integrity. Not
So
voter
there are
integrity,
so many
election
topics
integrity.
we could be talking about right now. I mean, there's so many topics.
Forget about
They've
it.
got us so all over the place on trying to pay attention to things other than what's really going on.
Right.
So, but we need to keep it at election integrity. We have a goal. We have a goal for
Right.
November 2022.
Exactly.
And it is not our goal is to get the asshats that are in jerkweeds, dickwads, whatever you want to call them, out of office because, like Einstein says, you do the same thing over and over and over and expect a different result.
Definition of insanity.
Yes.
Yeah. The true definition of insanity
So
is
how
doing the same
many,
thing over and over again, expecting different results. Right.
Yes.
No
So
doubt.
before we get into election integrity itself, I'd like to just comment a little bit about the people that have been in office for so long and the options available.
Yeah,
going
let's do
forward.
it. Go ahead.
So, there are quite a few people that have been in office for years and years and years and years, decades, decades. Can you guys, Zach?
Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, I can name Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Joe
Mitch
Biden. Who else?
Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell. Lots of them.
Well, define long. Are we going over two
I would
terms in the Senate?
A couple of decades.
I would say.
Couple of
I would
that's
say
two terms
in
for
the
any.
Senate.
Well, yeah,
I would
in the
say in the
three.
Senate 3 terms. If you can get, if you get past 3 terms, you probably should be like remixed into the batter. Because
Let's just shake up the bag, see what comes out. So, long story short, I mean, we have all these people that have been elected over and over and over again and been out there for so many years. and they have a disconnect with the American people. You know, they
So
think
then how do they keep
they
getting
think-
voted in?
well, they continue with their lies and their promises, or broken promises, I should say, and continue to get elected. But they have enough money to do that, and that's the problem. They have
Why do
enough
they have
money,
so much money?
to continue to be voted in.
Yeah, I mean, they only make most. Correct me if I'm wrong, either Zach or Steve, but the legislative branch only makes like not even $90,000 a year.
It's senators, it's somewhere along there. But the longer you're in, the more money you get for staffing as well. So like a first-term congressman gets like a chief of staff, and that's at like $20,000 a year, which if you live in D.C., $20,000 a year doesn't get you to live in D.C.
You're living at the taco bar
Yeah.
down the street.
But the longer you're in, like Nancy Pelosi is, I think she has a staff of 6 or 8.
34 to 36 years in or something
Yeah,
like
but
that.
she's got like a staff of 6 or 8 people, you know. And it goes, I mean, you ask how they get so much money. It's when they raise money for their elections, any monies that are not used go into a coffer. And they control that coffer. Now, that coffer cannot be used for personal gain or personal trips or anything like that. But what they do is, like, I think Nancy Pelosi in her coffers has something like 70 million,
Jesus
if not
Christ.
more. Well, this is why they're always fundraising.
So what happens to that
So
money
she's
after
like
they
a
get out?
baseball player.
After they get out of office, what happens to that money?
They control their coffer until they can control it until they decide it's all gone, or they can turn it over to either the RNC or the DNC.
But they can't keep it.
They do not get to keep it.
But
Again, it cannot be used for
knowing
any
that,
personal things.
If you don't get to keep it, then guess what you're going to do? You're going to spend it.
Right, but they're spending it on, say I'm the guy with $70 million sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to run for office. You're going to come to me and you're going to make me go, maybe I give you $1 million, maybe I give you 500,000, maybe I give you 10,000. It's all depending upon where your views lie. So when you're sitting there having that conversation with that person, you're going to make your views align as close to them as possible. Mm-hmm. Trump left office and still continued to raise money for his political campaigns
All right.
because he said, I may be or may not be done.
Right.
Now, there are election laws fill like 3 books that are 4 inches thick. You don't know. And I mean, he's getting in a little bit of trouble right now because if he declares his presidency too early, or has run for a new presidency too early, he's going to fall under campaign fundraising laws that will stifle his fundraising. Right now, he can go out and raise as much money as he wants.
Because he has no official.
He has no official campaign.
He has no official.
And it's not watched as hard as, because somebody could just be saying, I'm giving Donald Trump $60 million because
Right.
I like Donald Trump.
Right.
And it does not
And it's
technically have to go towards
Right.
his
coffer. Or
his
whatever.
his coffer.
Right.
Now, the minute he says I'm running, all those laws come into place, and now you got to file this, and you got to. I mean,
and you have to reveal that and
the
list that and-
the list of politicians from city council through the presidency. I mean, how many of them have been brought down? The old governor from Illinois was hammered on it.
Blagojevich.
There you go. Thank you. I knew it was that name I could never remember. But I mean,
So what happened in that case, Zach? Do you know? Do you remember?
I don't recall.
All right.
basically, he was caught taking money for
He's got his-
positions.
Correct.
Is what it came down to.
Okay. Got caught with his fingers in a cookie
Yeah,
jar.
and I mean,
Okay.
our old mayor here in Green Bay,
Schmidt.
Schmidt, was brought up on campaign finance charges because he had taken a $10,000 check which he could not take because the campaign was only supposed to receive a $2,000 check at that point in time. And
Maximum contributions.
How
Yeah.
much is that of that is willingly skirting the laws, and how much of that is like
answer it, Zach. How much?
Well, there's campaign finance laws, right? So
Right.
you have a maximum contribution that you can
Right.
give. People have gone to jail. Dinesh D'Souza, for example, has been one who has gone to jail for illicit campaign contributions. But
anybody else? Has anybody on the Democratic side or the Libertarian side or the
Yes.
Green Party side gone to?
of course,
Search campaign finance laws, jail time. You're going to see probably throughout the country, you'll see at least one or two every year.
One or two.
Got it.
One or two.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the ones that are caught.
well, in the way that the super PACs work now, I mean, there's ways to funnel money to candidates all over the place. You see these rich guys, you see these George Soroses, the Sheldon Adelsons, one on each side. There's a way to funnel money to the candidates without breaking campaign finance law.
So, what do you think the campaign finance law should be changed to in order for this not to happen?
My opinion is that campaign finance laws are unconstitutional, right? Money is speech. If I support a candidate, I should be able to give as much money to that candidate as I feel that I need to give in order to make that possible. The way that we have now is we've created a system of shadow money where people are giving money to super PACs that do not identify with a candidate, put ads on television and radio and Facebook that aren't necessarily aligned to a particular candidate. So now you got this shadow banks out there putting together ads for candidates that can perhaps go off message or say something false and not have any correlation to the candidate that they may support or oppose. And so
Just
McCain
what they
Feingold,
believe.
the
Yeah.
McCain
Yeah,
Feingold
but
campaign's
that-
law
that's-
made this worse.
That's kind of a slippery slope, though. I mean,
It
if
is
you,
a very slippery slope.
if you have, let's say the campaign laws were gone, okay, and you can give your money to whoever you want as much as you want. Let's say I like you, and I'm going to give you $10 million. I'm not, and I do like you, but I'm not going to give you.
And I like
$10
$10 million.
I get the first 10 million.
I'm going to give you $10 million. But Amy is a better candidate. She does a better job. She's for the people. She's really looking out for the best interests of the people. But because you and I are friends, we play golf together, I'm giving you $10 million. Now you're able to use that $10 million for ads and things like that, where Amy only got $2,000 from Steve. So now she can only.
You cheap ass.
That's true. No denial.
So she can only run Facebook ads that Jenny puts up for her. So now of course you're going to win.
Well, I see a couple of issues there. I think number one is, are we being transparent about where the money's going and who's it going to? If you're giving me $10 million, does the public have the right to know that you're giving me $10 million and that while I'm in office, I may support the certain area of business that you're in, or I may do you political favors? And that turns into a different set of legalities, a quid pro quo kind of scenario that is illegal. But the way the super PACs work now, I don't have to have any name attached to a candidate, right? And I can throw that dark money around.
Right.
So the system now is worse. The second point that I would make about that is I'm not so sure that campaign funds and coffers necessarily lead to wins. I mean, I could go through tons of examples, not even as far as back as the 2016 and 2020 election, where Donald Trump had over $1 billion war chest going into the 2020 election, lost the election, and Hillary Clinton far outraised Donald Trump on the presidential
In
stage.
2016.
So
yeah.
I think that we have to, in order to make that argument, I think that we have to find some kind of correlation between campaign finance
Right.
and election victories.
Right.
I'd have to do a little more research on that.
No doubt. I like it.
As you spoke though, I don't like the give as much money as you want. It to me that holds a certain sway over a person, and I would rather see elections capped, dollar amounts spent capped, and obviously do away with the super PACs. I've never been a fan of PACs. I've hated them. As you turn around and look, and I've said it the last two times I was on this show, you can't spend $60 million for $190,000 a year job. It is the worst investment of your time and
Because
energy.
it's not $190,000 a year
Of
job.
course, it's
though.
not, because after you get out, you get all the
Right, because
get
you're
the
getting all the
speaking gig, you get the
perks,
book, you
because
get the
people are
this,
paying
but-
you to travel around and get on stage and pitch your thing, so
and that's
that
fine.
you can get a
Look,
you know,
you're only as valuable after you're done as the people find you valuable. Just saying that I was a U.S. senator is not going to have somebody stand up and go, "I'm going to give you $4 million to speak at my conference."
unless you're Bill
There's-
Clinton.
There's the
And
there's the old rule. Now we all know the golden rule. Okay, person with the gold makes the money, right? Or person with the gold
Those are the rules.
That's not the golden rule.
Well,
golden rule.
The
Is
person
that
with the gold.
Is that a capitalist golden rule?
The person with the gold makes the rules.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
And then there's a play on it of, well, it's not how much, it's. I screwed this whole thing up somewhere.
I
along the
screwed
line
you
in
up,
my head.
and I keep
But
doing
anyway,
it. I did that to Amy earlier. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see that you have the parties, Democrats, Republicans, Independent, and I would like to see if you support Democrats. I'd like to see all that money go in that bucket, all the money go in the bucket of Republicans, all the money go in the bucket of the Independents, and each person that's running, it gets split evenly. Those dollars get split evenly between each person that's running,
So
and everybody
everybody's-
has a fair chance, dollar amount wise, to run the same
So
ads
even though
or
Hillary
to
Clinton spent almost $1 billion in 2016
Right.
to run her campaign,
so that $1 billion should have been split over. Well,
but Trump
no,
still
she
won.
was the huh.
Trump still won without having to split that money, though.
well,
So
yeah, but where Mike's going is the DNC is going to say Hillary gets, the DNC raised $2 billion.
right,
Hillary gets $900 million for the presidential. You get $100 million for the Senate campaigns. You get $60 million for the congressional, and you keep going down. And I've actually thought along that lines.
right.
It becomes very close to back in the 10s, 20s, and 30s. They used to have political bosses,
Okay,
and these were the guys that controlled the money.
okay.
And they controlled the appointments and all of this. I don't know if you're a fan of the history of that, Zach, but throughout New England, Joe Kennedy was a political boss. You didn't get to run for office unless Joe Kennedy backed you. In Chicago, it was the Dailies. There's just, and I'm trying to think who was
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
well, I'm trying to think who the boss was for Harry S. Truman back in the Midwest there.
But I
But
get what
he
you're
only got to run because he did a personal favor for the political boss, and here it is. And so you got to be there
Right.
again. You're creating a power situation,
Right,
and one of the
right.
things that we want to do in an election is remove singularity power. You don't want 1-2 guys controlling that.
I understand that argument, but I think as a part of a larger issue, two things. First, we need to ask ourselves, do we want to give the federal government the power and the influence to say who I can give my money to and how much money I can give to them? Right? I mean, is that a piece of liberty that we're willing to give up? The second point that I want to make is we often talk about money in politics and how it influences elections, and the very rich get to choose the candidates. But I think, in a way, we're missing a bigger point. I think the bigger point is that so much power and influence is structured in our federal government. If we had a federal government that was limited by the Constitution, limited by the rules of law, was in general a very small part of our lives,
Back
then
the way it was originally supposed to
Correct. Then the money would be moot. We would have no reason to want to influence these politicians because they wouldn't be able to do anything for us. There would be no quid pro quos in there anywhere. When you centralize power in the federal government, what we're doing, and by making these Band-Aid campaign finance laws, we're just treating the symptoms. We're not treating the disease of an overpowered, overgrown federal government.
I like it.
I liked a lot what you said there. Very nice.
So that's telling us what we should have done, but
Well,
Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Right.
right.
But here
And
we
you
are
can't-
now.
Exactly. So
And-
today, with
How do we get there?
how do we get
because
the integrity
we agree.
in voting?
I bet you
know?
70% of the people agree with your statement.
No, I agree with that statement completely. I would love to have smaller government.
I think it circles back to the original point. How did we get to this point where we have full-time, career, 50-year politicians?
We shouldn't have.
Well,
That was never meant to be the. I mean, you look at the Federalist Papers. You look at the fact that they put restrictions on how old you have to be when you become president. They should have put them on how old you have to be when you're
how old you have to be when you retire. And I mean, you can go back and I mean, the biggest thing today, I think for me for that is the Supreme Court. I truly feel that there should be a mandatory retirement age for that particular position.
right. Can you have dementia and sway the court?
Yeah. There is no we cannot remove a
They have to
Supreme
die,
Court
justice.
or they have to die or retire.
dementia. No, we don't get to go in there and say you have dementia. I mean, we can't remove a president who obviously has something going wrong right now.
So I think we're speaking of term limits. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
the Supreme Court.
we have them on one position.
Why
Name
don't
one
we have?
position.
I know you can't. You have term limits on the presidency. Why don't
And
you have
that's it.
term limits on the rest of it?
Right.
I don't get
Why
it.
did- why
Like,
did it
how do
stop
we? I feel like it's something that the founding fathers missed. Like they're like, oh yeah, because in their mind this is just a temporary thing. We're just gonna do this for.
It was a
few
part-time
years.
job, right?
It was
They had a
back
full-time
then.
job
It was
back
a
in their state.
part-time job.
Well, you
know?
got to remember that George Washington really did do the best thing ever. He set the precedent. They wanted him for a third term, and he said no. And he had the rationale that if he served and died in office, his biggest fear was the presidency would become president until death, president for life.
Right.
And that was one of his largest fears. He said,
What is that? Monarchy?
Well,
yeah, that's
it-
not constitutional republic for sure.
dictatorial,
Yeah.
monarchy, however you want to say it. But that was truly one of his biggest fears, was the fact that if he died in office, then it was going to be, I'm elected until I'm dead.
Well, I think that we see that Congress is quick to pass the 22nd Amendment right after
Yes.
FDR was in his fourth term, but are shy about passing similar amendments about the legislative body.
Yeah.
So, and they never will. So it comes down to either a state
No, because
convention.
the legislative body are the ones that have to pass those amendments,
Look,
and they're not going to pass themselves out of a job.
and a supermajority is needed.
Here's the thing. Who's going to fire himself? Are you?
I have tried many times, but I refuse to go away. So,
Who's gonna fire themselves? It's not there.
especially when you have millions of dollars coming into your coffers every election cycle, they wait for their election cycle.
It's not, for most of these guys, it's not about the money. It's about the power, the influence, the sway that they have. That's what they want. No, who's the Republican whip or minority leader right now?
Kevin McCarthy.
McCarthy. That man is doing everything to make sure that when the Republicans take back the House, that he is the majority leader, even though he has stepped on his own foot probably about
Like we're hoping
30
he's
times in
not
the last.
gonna be that.
I don't necessarily
We
care
need
for
new
him.
blood. There are 425 seats available in November.
No,
How many?
there's 525 in Congress.
I don't know how many Senate races are.
No, there's 525 altogether,
So we have
525.
or 535 altogether.
And there's 400 and change.
There's 435 in the House, and there's 100 in the Senate.
Yeah, and we'll get a third of all senators flipping.
Yeah. I mean, we can make a difference.
We can make a huge
The
change.
problem is when the difference that we make is basically going from
Let me ma-
flip flop to a freaking mule. It's the same
It's the
damn
same-
shoe.
yeah,
But
exactly.
let me make this argument. You're standing here trying to talk about change the system, right? You don't need to change the system. You need to change the people. The people are the
No,
ones,
yeah.
the people are the ones who have the power.
Right.
The problem is the attention span of the American populace right now is about 4 minutes.
Yeah, if that.
You
That's
can't
why they
get-
do
you
30-second clips on
you
TikTok
can't
and
get
all
them-
that
you
other
can't
crap
get them to
because you
read-
can't keep their attention.
Right.
don't-
It's between Johnny Depp, Kim Kardashian, and whoever else the current thing is.
They don't do their own research anymore, and that's one of the things that really just irritates the hell out of me.
Right. Right.
You know, I only get my news from Fox. I only get
see,
my news from CNN.
Here's the thing also, Steve. I don't think it's just that. Amy and I talked about this, what was it, last week or week before last? Most people in America, they don't feel like they can do anything. They don't feel like they can make change. They don't feel like their vote actually counts.
Because they've been told it doesn't.
So they either don't get out and vote, or when they do go out and vote, they just vote for the party line that they're on.
Let
So
me
they
ask
just
you-
we're just going to vote for this guy
Let me ask
because
you
he's
this
a
question.
Republican or whatever.
What do we got staring at us at 2024?
What do you mean as far as the presidency, presidential election?
What is the odds-on bet right now?
That
Who are going to
Trump-
who are going to be the two runners?
Trump and what's her name, the vice president.
Kamala Harris.
No, Camille is
No,
nobody. Will put-
nobody likes her.
I think
Nobody-
the president's still the odds-on favorite to run again.
Yeah.
I think Michelle Obama is going to come in.
Who
Here- right now,
Biden is going to run
Yeah,
again. You said?
they
Nah,
still
there's no way.
right now.
There's
they
no
still
way.
talk-
There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
They still
He-
talk
he
about
is not-
these two having a rematch, and let's talk.
He is
let's-
not mentally going to make it that far.
Well, let's talk about the truth. Are those our two best options?
Hey.
I mean, I can make the case in
20 million
2016.
people.
Right. I mean, I can make the case in 2016 that
I'd
it
be
was
a
going to be
better
Bush
president.
and Clinton, right? It was going
Yeah.
to be Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. I mean, that was going to be the two. Those are the odds-on betting favorites.
A year out, but then
year
Trump got into it, and then what did we have? Then we saw
And then we saw another Reagan Kennedy situation
Well-
where they're like, no, you can't come in here and expose the truth. We're not sure how you got voted in. Well, maybe not so much with Kennedy, but for Reagan.
no so much. What my point being is you had a guy that basically didn't tell you anything other than I'm going to build a wall, and oh, by the way, Jeb Bush, you're an idiot.
No,
You know,
no,
he called-
no,
he-
no. That's not the case. The Obama and Trump got into office the same exact way. Obama came into office talking about change. I'm going to make some changes. We're going to do
That's
things.
how everybody beats.
But the hope that he brought to the American people,
Hope and change.
okay, being a young African American person from Chicago, he's worked in the inner city, this, that, and the other. He understands the American people. He's going to bring hope and change. Okay, Trump came in and said the same exact thing, except Trump said we're going to drain the swamp. It's the same narrative. It's the same message. That's how both of them got into office.
That's always that first round is always going to be when you're going to beat somebody. I'm about change. If I'm going to run in 2024, what am I going to run against?
It's not
I'm going to run against an economy, and I'm going to run against $5 gas prices.
They didn't just say change though. They said they were going to get rid of all of the career politicians in Washington. That's what both of them said.
Yeah, and neither one of them did
that
a
is-
damn thing
Neither
about it.
one of them did
While
it, and because
Obama didn't want to
the
reveal
career
his birth
politician-
certificate, and Trump didn't want to
Zach,
reveal
go ahead.
his
You got something to
taxes.
say.
Yeah, I see that perspective. But I think the way that I see the change in the presidential elections, at least since 2000, is that the incoming president is the cure for the previous disease, right?
Right.
During when Barack Obama was elected in 2008. George W. Bush had been seen as this political class elite. His father was president. The Bushes have been in office for a long time.
Right.
Here's fresh, here's hope, here's change.
Right.
And then I see the election of Donald Trump being a cure for the level of marginalization that went on during the Obama administration's years, telling people that they're clinging to their guns and their religion, and shaming people for driving a pickup truck and working a blue collar job. I think he was the cure to that. And then you have this President Trump, who's this erratic and shoot from the hip kind of guy, and then
Loose
you have
cannon.
slow.
Right. So
loose
we're all
cannon.
just
Loose
looking for
cannon.
our medicine.
Right, and then we have this slow, old basement Biden, right, which is the cure to all the chaos during the Trump administration. So I think there's some correlation between how these presidents not just...
Did Biden actually win?
Yes.
Yes.
So there was no fraud?
I'm not saying there's no fraud.
I'm not saying Biden won.
Well, we know he won because he's in office.
All right.
Right.
But-
But I don't believe that. I mean, how can an entire political party say, "Oh, in 2016 there's so much fraud and it was so rampant in fraud," and then in 2020 they say there's no possibility of
Right.
fraud?
So the
I just-
Democrats in 2016 said that the reason why Trump got into office was because of voter fraud. And then now
And
then
the
when
Russians.
and then
collusion.
and the Russians, yeah, right. And that was unfounded. But then when in 2020 when Biden got in office, they said that it was the Republicans said it was voter fraud, but all of a sudden nobody believes it. So who
Right. It
is
had
there
nothing
is
to do
there
with
a level
Russia
of
or
voter fraud
Ukraine.
that is actually going on that both parties truly know
That's
about?
what I don't get.
And they
Like,
continue to point the finger at one another.
I
or
think
what?
I think it's a battle of who can be more fraudulent. To be honest, I mean,
Steve?
Is there irregularities in every election? Yes. Yeah. There's irregularities in every election. Is there the amount of fraud that can change the outcome?
Right.
No.
I think it's important to exclude those two categories.
Right.
Was election fraud the reason for the loss of Donald Trump, and does it exist, and is it a problem? I think those are mutually exclusive.
do you really think that 81,000 people have voted for Joe Biden?
81,000.
81,000?
I mean, 81 million. Sorry.
Yes. You know why?
Why?
Because we were in such a different situation in 2020. Okay. We had what, for lack of a better word, the death virus out there. Okay. And so, I mean, yeah, that's a whole different discussion.
Right.
We know now that it wasn't where those levels should have been.
Right.
But so going into that, and I said in March and April, I was talking with some people, and I said, look, they've got to figure out how they want to do this. Throughout that summer, the Republicans continually said, no, we're not changing that. We're not changing that. We want everybody to show up on that day. Why? Because Democrats believed in the virus more than Republicans. That's go back and look at the statistics now.
Vaccination records, whatever.
Even to
yeah.
this day, Democrats really. I was it Bill Maher I was watching. He said something like Democrats believe 70% of Democrats believe that almost half of everybody that got the coronavirus ended up in a hospital. Half. It's nowhere near, and that's 70% of it. So were they going to rush out to the polls? No, and that's why the Republicans said, we're just going to handle this the way that we've always handled it. Well, we're getting closer to the election. Now there's they're reaching out to the election committee, the Wisconsin Election Committee. Brown County reached out to him and said, how do we handle it? Oh, drop boxes. Well, you can't, we got sued over drop boxes. We got sued over mailing out ballots. And and it was handled horribly. But the key of it is anybody who basically wanted to vote could vote because they had gotten something in the mail right there. And all they had to do is mail it back or drop it off. So we had one of the largest participations in any presidential election. We had these large numbers. Now,
The thing that I can't understand is why we couldn't figure out something electronically. Why couldn't we figure out
We
something?
can
online?
vote for American Idol and
we
seven gazillion people. and
we can find a man in the hole, okay, in Iraq, okay, but we can't figure out how to vote online. Seriously.
right. And our
Zach's chewing. Go ahead, Zach.
Our-
Shoot it
yeah.
out, buddy.
I goes Pakistan, right? Right. Well, maybe
No, I was talking about not Osama. You were talking about Osama?
Yeah.
Bin Laden? No. I was talking about the
Hussein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies.
No, that's all good.
So, may I venture a question? If there isn't unsolicited mail-in ballots sent to all registered voters, is Joe Biden the president today?
I don't believe so. I believe if you had to physically get out of your house and go vote, that I think Trump would have won it,
Or request absentee ballots?
or request an absentee ballot. Now, I requested an absentee ballot. I did not show up in person, but I did send in a request for that absentee ballot. And quite honestly, I don't ever want to have to go stand in that line again. I'll send in for an absentee ballot. Now, I know that they want to go back to the only reason you can get an absentee ballot is you are not going to be in your district at that moment when things happen. You're not going to, we want you. And that's basically the Republicans' thing is they want you there.
So let's talk about that a little bit. Okay, so they don't want you can't come into or you can't vote unless you have a license and you're registered to vote. Okay.
Okay.
So there a lot of people are in the inner city are saying that that's not giving them a chance to vote because not everybody has a license.
Wisconsin ID.
Not everybody has a Wisconsin ID. They say.
anybody can
These,
get a
these,
Wisconsin
these are
ID.
the arguments that you're
Anybody,
hearing. These are the-
anybody can get a Wisconsin ID as long as they can prove residency.
Okay, so here's the deal. You
I
have
think
people
that's
that
pretty
don't
basic.
have. It's pretty basic to most people, but not basic to everyone. Not everyone has the understanding of how to go about doing those things.
Where's the disconnect as to where we're not explaining it?
Well,
Why don't
And they're free. I was
there
gonna
is-
say like it's
they're
not
not
even
free.
that. You can
They're
get
not
a
free.
driver's
you got-
license aren't free, but
Yeah, you can
I-
request.
I-
you
you
can
can
re-
request
you can
a
request a free state ID.
Can you?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you send in a thing and say I want a free state ID, and
Interesting. I thought you had to pay what was it, $25 or something?
no,
like that?
well you have to qualify, but if you are on any sort of government assist, it is free. Now me, no, I got to pay my $25, and that's what it is. You got to pay your $25. You got to pay, and I'm sure Zach's got to pay
You
his
pay your
$25.
25. You pay your 25.
Right.
You pay your 25.
So this idea that, and I get it. Zach, do you think it is too hard to go out and get an ID?
I do not. I think that it's the one assured way for us to secure our elections is
Right.
presenting voter ID. And voting is a right, just like gun ownership is a right. But there's a certain set of responsibilities that go along with being an American voter. And I think that asking an individual to request an ID in order to be able to go to a polls or request an absentee ballot in order to be able to vote remotely, I don't think is a lot to ask for us to have a share in the American electoral process. So, in all arguments against that, I would like to see the evidence of these individuals having a hard time attaining these IDs.
I'm applauding you because that's the exact answer that, well, paraphrased, that I usually give. Look, if it is too much of an inconvenience for you to take 3 minutes out of an hour out of your day, 2 months before the election to go get registered. I mean, here in Wisconsin, you can still legally register at the ballot.
On election day.
On election day. On election day, you can bring in your little here's
nobody's
my gas
And
bill.
nobody's verifying that information that you give them
Well,
in order to do that.
Oh, you do have to bring in information.
Yeah, you have to bring it
verify who
in.
you
You
are.
do have to have today. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, you did not have to have an ID. You just had to be able to bring in your gas bill, your electric bill, whatever. But all of that, and that's great. I love it. You don't have to because you moved. You moved 3 months ago. You moved 6 months ago. When I was in college, we were allowed to vote on campus, even though we were not permanent citizens,
Regardless of where
residents
you
of where
were
we were.
considered residents.
Right. There is one thing that the Gableman thing brought up, and I think it's an atrocity to this day that our voter registries are horrible. They're absolutely horrible. Hell, we tell the U.S. Post Office where to forward our mail, but somehow they can't update.
Figure out how to update the voter registry.
Truth, I have a regular customer. His daughter has been passed for 10 years. She got a ballot in the mail, and this guy is a loyal supporter of the ex-president, and he swore up and down this is why everything is They're asking for, and I said it only becomes fraudulent if you fill that out and send it back.
Right.
I said don't. It's not. I said yes, and that was the fact of that whole thing out of the Gableman report and this and that, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, Gableman was this guy in charge of trying to find voter fraud in Wisconsin, and he swore up and down that he found it, and just about every argument that he used was thrown out of court. But the one thing that I took away from it was he said it's just a travesty of how our voter registries are handled, what is done with them, and I agree.
Right.
He couldn't prove certain fraud, but there's stuff that's messed up.
There's always
there's always going to be something that's
there's
messed
always
up in
something.
any system that you put together.
And he
still.
looked at just the 2020 election. He's not going back 2016. He's not going back 2012.
Right.
He said this is whether it be the Facebook 5 or whatever they called him. What's his name from Facebook? Zucker 5. That's what they were calling him here because the Zuckerberg 5.
Okay.
And that leads to the donations that he gave, that Mark Zuckerberg gave to many states. I don't want to quote myself wrong here, but I believe it was a total of $10 billion throughout the U.S.
$10 billion?
Throughout the U.S.
$10 billion.
Billion.
Okay. And which states did he give it to?
All 50.
Okay.
Here in Wisconsin, I forget the actual dollar amount we were given, but the majority of the dollars went to Green Bay, Milwaukee, Madison, La Crosse, and Fond du Lac.
And why is that?
According to Gableman, it was because that's where the hotbed of Democrats.
Brown County is one of the ultimate swing states in the United States.
County.
Brown County. Our county.
Brown County is not a state.
No, Brown County being a county. This is one of the.
Wisconsin is a swing state. Brown County is one of the swing counties. But the dollars that were donated were basically for PPP. It was ensuring that the poll workers, extra money for poll workers, extra money to make sure. Anyway.
Does that include the poll workers that were locked out of the building when we were trying to count stuff?
Those weren't poll workers that were locked out of the building. Those were observers.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And
I would think that observers are also considered poll workers.
No, observers are not poll workers. Poll workers are people that that take an oath and to count, tabulate, collect. Mm-hmm. Observers are nothing more than the county Republican, the county Democrats that want to go down. You can go down and be an observer.
I know. I got called. They're like, "You want to come down to Milwaukee?" I'm like, I got several appointments that day. Anybody
can go be an observer. I can go. You don't have to be a registered member.
Right.
You can show up and go, I want to be an observer. Now, on those particular days, you got to remember, we were dealing with a particular pandemic at that moment. Mm-hmm. So we were limiting. We were still under a safer at home order. Okay.
And are we talking 2020?
We're talking 2020. We're still on a safer at home order. Therefore, they were limiting the number of people that were in the count rooms because they just, I mean, God forbid somebody would have ended up dead because you wanted to go
Right.
in and you hadn't cleared a test or whatever.
What
else.
did that death toll end up being after the fact? Even though they, never mind.
So weren't they supposed to close down the polls at a certain time, and then that didn't actually happen?
They did close the polls at 8:00. What you heard
The
reports
count
of.
is what they,
What you heard? No, the count doesn't stop at 8:00. The count stops once all ballots,
All the ballots,
all,
okay.
all legally cast ballots are tabulated.
Right. So what was I hearing?
So basically, what they were doing was they were saying, and there were numerous reports where, oh, these people showed up and they had boxes of ballots, and it was, they were ballot stuffers, and they were coming from, this or that. They had poll workers had gone out and collected from the drop boxes from
Okay.
around.
Okay.
And what you saw were drop boxes being pulled in.
Got it.
Now, in some cases, and I will.
So how can you regulate that where poll workers are going around picking up drop boxes? And they put let's just say they put one in their trunk, and then when they get to the polling office, they pull out two. How can you regulate the fact that that didn't actually happen?
You have to take some people at their honest truth. I mean, you're not.
have to be. Hey, you have to have faith in humanity, Mike.
Well,
I'll put it to you this
forgive
way.
me if I lost that one somewhere along the line. I don't know.
Well, I'll ask you this, Mike. Are you willing to do 20 years in federal prison to put one more ballot?
There's no penalty for
yes,
that.
there is.
though.
It is 20 years. If you
get
It
caught.
depends on what side of
if
it.
a poll worker is caught doing what Mike just described, that is 20 years that they
right.
are facing in a federal penitentiary.
So then at the drop
Okay,
box,
I'm
what's
gonna-
stopping me from stuffing the drop box at that time? So what's stopping me from going there?
I don't remember what
and
the-
putting 30, 40 different votes into the drop box
I believe
myself.
I do believe you lose your ability to cast a ballot for a number of years.
No,
and
I'm
you
saying
are-
what's
you are-
stopping me from doing that,
Nothing. The fear. What's stopping anybody from breaking any law?
I suppose.
The threat of whether or not you're going to actually go to jail.
I don't break laws, though. I'm just,
That's
gonna
what's
put that out there right
that's
now.
what it is. Now you also
So mass murderers that use guns should go to jail forever or just be on death row.
Uh-oh, here we go.
we're not talking about mass
Here we
murders
go.
right now. Keep it on point.
We're getting on the gun laws.
Keep it on point.
I'm
We can-
keeping it-
we can
I
do-
mean,
we can
my
do-
point is that if we just freaking follow the laws and they were prosecuted for the laws that we have on the books, maybe we wouldn't have all these problems.
Well, first off, there was no viable evidence that any of that happened. It was thrown out of court on numerous levels by both Republican and Democratic judges.
Okay.
All right, so,
So-
when we start talking about that, now you have nothing more than a guy with a bad toupee jumping up and down screaming, "It was stolen from me," and he
Do you really think that's a toupee?
I don't care what it is.
I'm totally kidding.
Yeah, the orange man did what he, and this is coming two times. I'll be honest with you. Both times I voted for President Trump.
Oh,
he
shit.
will
I'm out of here. I
He
gotta
will
go.
not
I'm
get
sorry.
a third vote
I
from me.
didn't.
He will not.
I'm teasing.
After
I voted for him twice, too.
I know you did. We've talked. But I'm telling you, he will never get another vote from me.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Really?
Yeah.
January
I wanna know.
6th.
I don't really know that. Okay. January 6th, you think that there was truly an insurrection from Trump voters?
I didn't say it was an insurrection. What I am talking about is that man did not do a damn thing for 5 hours. 5 hours. People are dying. His own vice president has to be secured by the Secret Service. And that man did not do one thing. That is not the man I want leading my country. Never.
Okay.
Never again.
So you want the woman that let the people?
That's not what he said.
That's not what I'm
That's not
saying.
what he said.
Did I say I was a Hillary supporter? No.
No, he said he's
No,
gonna
no.
find- he's gonna
I
find
am
someone else to vote
I am
for.
telling you, if it comes down to him and somebody else on the Democratic side,
What
it had better be the best Democrat I could ever see.
What if it comes down to him and Biden next again? What if that actually happens?
Oh, it's very easy. I'm not voting. I will write
there
it.
you go.
I
There you
will.
go. That
I will
right-
write it.
that right
I will
there-
write in dissatisfied. I will go and vote for everybody else, but
yeah,
I
let's
will.
all write
I
in
will use.
dissatisfied
I will
and
use
see
my
who-
write
and
in
then we just,
and
like,
say dissatisfied.
Shake it
Why
up.
don't you just write me in?
I'll write you. Sure.
Write me in.
I will. You
That's
will
what we're
have
going
an,
with.
you will have an
Actually-
official vote for if it comes down to those two. You will have an official
Michael
vote
G.
on
Sewell.
record.
Right. Well, you gotta distinguish between the other Michael G.
How
Sewell
would you
and,
like
and
to do
Wisconsin.
Senior, isn't it? Aren't you
No.
senior now?
No.
Are you
no.
second or third?
Actually, there's a guy in Wisconsin that has my same.
In Green Bay.
He's a realtor as well.
He's a real estate broker.
But he's a broker and he's an attorney, so he's a lot smarter than I am. But same first, middle, and last name, same birthday.
Oh, good God.
I kid you not.
Yeah.
He's a lot more
Wait.
handsome than I am. Though,
Well,
so.
Wait.
I don't. From a white guy's perspective, yeah, no, you guys are even.
From a white
What?
guy's perspective.
Are you a
he's
white
Are
guy?
you a white guy now?
No.
Amy,
No,
you
from-
just.
Are you identifying?
Yes, I'm identifying as a white guy.
Okay.
I'm so sorry,
And that's fine.
Preston.
Now, all right. Now you.
No, I'm just.
All right. You've heard.
good
You've
Lord.
heard. Now you tell me why you think that there was fraud.
I think there was fraud because there were too many signs or too many things like in Georgia. There were so many scrambles to change the laws.
By Republicans.
I don't think so.
And I'm a Republican.
I don't
I'm
think
not a
I don't
conservative.
think it was
I am
all
a
Republican.
Republican.
I don't think it was all Republican.
It was. It is a Republican held house, and they tried very hard.
In Georgia?
Yes, tried
Uh,
very very hard.
Because
Okay.
because they didn't want people coming out voting.
They
They
didn't want.
did not want the minority vote.
Okay. Well, then I'm wrong.
So,
No.
well, you've been known to be wrong once or twice.
No, I'm not.
This is
Not-
my
You-
second
look,
time.
Not very often.
And here's the one thing, I guess. Let me just spit this out, and then you can throw whatever you want at me. I don't care. Here's the one thing that I always want. I want you to do your own research.
Yeah, no
don't
doubt.
believe
Oh,
me.
yeah.
Don't just listen to me.
For sure.
Get out there and it irritates me when you won't spend more than 5 minutes. You know, and I'm not saying you guys.
Yeah, no,
No,
no.
I'm saying-
but I'm just
I'm saying-
I'm looking at this Reuters article
want-
or whatever. Former U.S. congressman and Philadelphia political operative pleads guilty to election fraud charges, and for
Yeah.
20. I mean, there's stuff out there.
Yes.
Do
And-
I believe that
but-
there's zero
Now-
But what
issue?
Steve is
no, I
saying
don't
is
believe that
what
at
Steve
all.
is saying is that there was not enough election fraud for Biden to be in office. That's what. Am I saying? Am I
Basically, yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
That's-
not enough
Okay, so he's
election-
not saying that it doesn't happen, and neither is Zach. They both agree that this may happen. However, just not enough of it to completely change an election.
Did you guys see 2,000 Mules?
No. I don't watch documentaries that are nothing more than propaganda.
Okay. Zach, did you see it?
I did. What did you think? Well, I think the evidence is inconclusive. I love documentaries, and I can
I
take
lo-
them all with a grain of salt.
Right.
Right.
I love documentaries, but let's face it, it is the closest thing to propaganda that we have in today's. I mean, after
So what
watching
is
Columbine,
not
after watching Bowling for Columbine, did you all not want to throw away a gun?
Right, but I can watch Dinesh
No.
D'Souza and Michael Moore, right,
Yeah.
and then and somewhere find my opinion in the middle, and I think that's what I did.
And that's that I appreciate, and I can applaud you on that, because one of the things that irritates me the most is I watch this and they don't have an agenda. Yeah, they do.
Everybody has
I think
an
it's safe
agenda.
to assume they all do, right?
We
They
have
all
an
do.
agenda. We have an agenda.
We have an agenda.
Yeah,
Our
our-
agenda is to make sure people freaking wake up and realize that Republicans and Democrats both suck.
Well, here's the thing. Our
I
agenda.
just say that out loud?
Our
did.
agenda is to
did,
try to
didn't I?
get the voices that are not being heard, the 70% out there that are not being heard, to be heard. Okay, because we realize we started this thing off with all of the distractions that the media gives us, the race, the sexuality, the blah 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 blah, and most of us don't care about any of that crap, and we just want to get that voice heard, because if we can get those people out to vote properly. I did quotations on that. If we can get those people out to vote, then and not say, oh, my vote doesn't count, or not say,
Or I'm getting paid for this vote, or I'm getting bused to this vote, or I'm getting pressure from my family for this vote, because if I don't vote this way, then I'm not going to be able to go to like dinner on Sunday kind of thing. We are way too focused on belittling each other over politics.
Politics and everything else.
Well,
And everything else. So I mean, but that's the far extreme. That's the 15 here and the 15 there. That's doing all the belittling. The people in the
I
middle.
think we all fall
are
into
the-
that.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I disagree.
I
Go ahead, Zach.
I mean, we're talking about election integrity today.
Yep.
And the argument can be made there's no more important issue to how we run our republic. And right now we have two sides that can't even agree on how to run an election.
No.
This is how
Right.
separated we are. I mean,
Yep.
this is the
And we're
problem.
allowing these people to.
But that's because we are allowing them to do that.
Yeah.
So if we come together collectively and start doing the small research that it takes to see who the independent is or who the libertarian is or whatever, and stop voting party lines, we can't change the laws right now. Okay, we have an election coming up. We need to do something about it. Okay, so we can't get term limits,
I think
which is
the
what we
first
would
thing
like
we
to
need
have
to
right
do
now.
is
We can't get
find the 425 people that are going to be all for term limits, because if we don't do term limits, then how do we get the assets out of there?
And that's the thing I'm saying. We can't get there today. Even if we started trying to make a change for that tomorrow, we can't get there today. However, what we can do today is help people wake up, and the people that are saying my vote doesn't count, your vote does count, okay? And the people that are saying, oh, I'm just going to vote for the Republican because I'm a Republican, and you're falling in that middle line where you may not be a staunch Republican. Those are the people we're trying to wake up and say, okay, don't vote because you're Republican. Vote because you're going to vote for the person that's going to be the best for the country.
And
The
who is
people
that,
the
Mike?
person who is going to be for the lay people of the country. Not these career billionaires and career politicians. These people don't care about us.
Right.
We thought the reason why I voted for Trump was because I thought him being a businessman
That's why.
and him coming from New York, and I'm from Brooklyn, so Trump. I watched Trump grow. I watched Trump do his thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's my guy. I'm definitely going to vote for him because I seen him come through the ranks and become a billionaire. So I figured he can. If there's one person that's going to be able to make this country run like a business, like it should, get rid of all the downsize the federal government, give the states back the powers and stuff like that, it's going to be Trump. Unfortunately, he got in office. Of course, he couldn't do everything he wanted to do.
He was.
I get all that. I get all that, but the reason why. Now I lost my train of thought. But long story short, we need to get people out to vote, and we need to help them understand that our voices can be heard.
Yeah, but who are they going to vote
So
for?
we're not going to
Mike,
be able to
are
make
they
those
gonna
changes
vote for
that
the
we want to
Democrat,
make.
or are they going to vote for the Republican?
We're not. It doesn't matter who they vote for. It's not your job to get them. If you want a political podcast, if you want a political podcast, political platform to say, okay, we want this, this, and this, and this, then you're no longer the 70%.
No, I know that. I'm saying collectively, we can't just sit around and keep being the
collectively
silent
go out
majority.
and go out and do your research and pick the person that you think is best. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I live in a household with a staunch Democratic voter, okay? And we are perfectly happy, and I'll tell you to this day, I have a lot of friends who are Democrats. I got a lot of friends that are conservatives. I've got maybe one or two friends that are wigged out liberals. But
I think most
It
of us are
doesn't-
libertarian.
I want you to go out.
Steve got friends.
I want you to go out and do your own research.
They've got friends.
You want to sit down and talk about political people when the ballot comes around? I'll sit and we'll go through them and we'll find their pluses and minuses, and we can make a recommendation, on something. But standing here and going, well, who are they going to vote for? First off, we don't really, unless you are a member of the Democratic Party or and when I say that, I mean an active member. You're down there, you're shaking
Where
hands,
getting
you're out there.
You're getting the
pinning up.
memos about who's coming up next
Yeah,
on stage.
who's here, who's there, who's who of who's.
Like on Comedy Connects.
So
Yeah.
how do we get election integrity?
We have about the best system that we can at this time.
Okay. Zach?
Do you know that in India,
Well-
when you vote and you put your vote down, they mark your forehead like it's Ash Wednesday, and then you can't come back and do it again?
Zach?
Do they come to your house and after you've mailed it in?
See, and that's the thing. They don't have mail-in voting. It's up to the citizens that can get to the
I'm not
polls.
having anybody mark my head. That's too close
Well,
to the
no,
mark
but
of the beast for me.
that's not what I'm saying.
Sounds
I
kind of
get
Jewish.
you.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Wait,
What are you saying?
Ash Wednesday?
It's
Is
it's
that
the
Jewish?
joke
Oh.
of the mark on of
David.
for David. So
Yeah, I know.
so that
I'm
they
saying
pass
there's-
over that
if
firstborn.
you can, I'm saying
Go ahead.
there's
Go.
got to be,
Let's-
with all the
let
technology,
Zach in
there's
real quick.
got to be a better way to make sure that there is voter integrity.
I mean, I'm going to agree that I think that we have the best system currently. No, very state by state, right? I mean, we have an electoral college, and each state does it a different way. But I'm going to look into my crystal ball here, and I think that during these January 6 hearings, a lot of the ways that some states run their election is going to be called into question, and there is going to be a push by the left to federalize a lot of these election processes.
Do you think
So-
it should be federalized?
No, absolutely not. Look what happens when we federalize.
We've already
Right.
given the federal government too
Right.
too much power.
What are the three?
we
what
need
are
to
the three things
lessen
that the
it.
federal government should be doing?
Provide for the common defense. I mean, that's right there in the Constitution. Regulate trade with foreign countries, and that's it.
Oh, so they're not even three.
Do I have to have three?
No, you don't have to have three.
Bill-
Yes, we want free.
Right?
I was thinking provide entertainment.
Smithsonian, maybe?
on
I don't
State of
know.
the Union.
I like it. I like it.
Maintain the interstate system because we all like
Highways.
it. Let's not
Right.
lie.
Oh my. Okay.
Let's not
highways.
lie.
I'll
We
give you
like the
highways.
interstate system
This is true.
I'll give you highways.
because I don't want to go back to driving around on 2-lane roads.
Right.
But at what cost do they build those highways?
Well, we do it at
So-
a premium cost versus any other country. God
Okay.
bless America.
Right.
Mike, go
Right.
ahead.
No, my thing is that we can't. We could talk all day long about what we should do, how we should do it, and stuff like that. The main point I want people to leave here with is take care of your part of the world. If you take care of your part of the world, it'll continue to expand and expand and expand to other parts of the world. So if I do my job as a citizen and I get out and vote, first I do my research. I don't just vote because this person is Democrat or this person is Republican or this person is black or this person is a woman. I don't just vote on silliness. I don't vote on my emotions. I don't say, oh, this person is talking about grab him by the whatever, and I'm not going to vote for him because he said that. That's an emotional vote. Okay, we get out and we actually research the people, what they're about, what their platform is about, and then decide at that point, hey, this is who I'm going to vote for. And I can push all day long about, hey, we should, I think we should vote for XYZ, but that their values may not align with your values. Like you said, you wouldn't vote for Trump, but I'm telling you, for me, if it's down to Biden or Trump, I'm voting for Trump again. Okay, I know he didn't do a great job with a lot of things, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But some of the things that he did do a great job with is what I align with, and that's what I'm going to do.
And-
I don't like Trump. I really don't. He's a blowhard. Okay, he speaks out of his ass a lot. He's a blowhard. He's
Michael
not a.
G. Sewell
I don't
for
think
president.
I don't think he's a good person. I don't. However, I think he's good for the economy. He's good for the country, and he's good for the people of the country.
I'll give you the first one.
Do you think that? Here's a question. Do you think that Donald J. Trump divided the country more so than Barack Obama did? Mike.
Oh, why you gotta give me that question?
I'm giving
What's
it
that?
all.
What's
I
that
mean,
about?
You're,
So,
you're just up first.
I don't think
You chose that spot, so.
I think that some people felt emboldened by Trump to be able to come out and show their true colors. Yes, absolutely. But for me, that's not a problem because now I see you. I know who you are. And I don't have to worry about you anymore because now you're not hiding in the closet anymore and you're being blatant about who you are as a person. I don't have a problem with people flying the Confederate flag. That doesn't bother me, because now I know, hey, that person probably doesn't like me. So I'm not going to go over his house for dinner. At least I'm able to see them. When you are hiding out and you're behind closed doors and you're doing all that stuff, then I can't see you. I don't know that you're my enemy. That bothers me. You know what I mean? So were there some people emboldened by the fact that Trump was such a blowhard? Absolutely. Okay. But that didn't change anything. They were there already. They were already there. They were just hiding in the closet. Now, a lot of people say that Obama was against, the white male. I don't see that.
I didn't see that.
I don't see where he was against the white male. I think that he did the best that he could do with the tools that he had, and he couldn't make any moves because he didn't have the House and Senate. I think he would have done a better job.
Didn't he for
in the
couple
second
years?
in the second year?
Or
in the
2
second
years.
term.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
he
passed
had
the
House and
most
Senate for 2
sweeping
years.
You're leaving
healthcare
office
legislation
Yeah,
in American history.
There was
Through reconciliation,
I
yeah.
think
Right.
that I don't quite agree with that, but
So Zach, how do you feel? Do you think that either one of them was the cause of the separation in the United States today?
I think we're just moving farther and farther apart. And I
Really?
appreciate what you said about 70% of us, feeling the same way. I think right now opposing political parties are looking at each other as that's my enemy. And that's where we're going. We're heading farther and farther down that track.
But who's doing that? Isn't the media is doing that to us? It's not I don't think it's the people that are doing
I
that.
always say that if you just realize that you and I, are together, and not that government is the enemy, but when it comes to who is the rationale between with all these decisions and stuff. Why don't we
brass tacks, we're not the
right?
enemy.
Why
But go
are
ahead.
we siding him with each other?
Finish your statement real quick. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Perhaps it could be the media. All right. And I think the media heightens it.
Right.
I think that parties sometimes move in other directions. I mean, we've always had opposing sides. I mean, we
yeah.
had a William F. Buckley and Gore Vidal
Right.
on national television for a long time. So it's not like these opinions haven't really existed. And I hear the argument that the right's going farther to the right and the left's going farther to the left. I'll disagree with that one. I feel like the conservatives have been right where they have been for the last 100 years. Maybe have moved the left a little bit,
Right.
and the left is the one who's gone off the spectrum. Or I don't see unity in sight. I think we have blue states and we have red states, and the amount of swing states are going to dwindle. They're going to turn blue or red, and we're just going to have to find a way, some kind of common
And that's what
value
they're
to
hoping
keep
for.
50 states together. And that's okay. If you like liberal values, maybe California is the place for you to live. If you like conservative values, perhaps that's Florida.
But
we're just
people
going to
don't
have to
move.
live
They
with
just
that's the
want to
reality of where
change
we
where
are.
they are.
Well, I don't think geographically, I don't think that's the truth, but I think politically, absolutely it is. People want to be around people in their community that have like values.
Right, but people in California aren't going to be like, well, I take that back because I do have one couple that moved here, and we celebrated in the front yard. They're like, we don't live in California anymore. Ah.
People are leaving the West Coast in droves. Literally, it cost about
Mm-hmm. West Coast
it cost
and the
about
East Coast.
$15,000 to move from the West Coast.
Just for the U-Haul.
Right. You know how much it costs to get in there? $2,500.
Plus
Yeah.
$2,500 in gas.
Yeah. Seriously, it's cheaper to go to California, to move into California, and anywhere on the West Coast, Washington, California, Oregon. It's cheaper to move there than
No,
it is
that's
to get the
one
hell
of
out
the
of
most
there.
expensive
You know how
checks
many
that I
people
would ever
I've
write.
helped move into Green Bay from the West Coast? It's crazy.
For me,
they're
two
buying
last
houses
month.
sight unseen, Nate.
2 last month.
They're like, I just want to get out of here. Just Mike,
I
get me
moved
out
a
of here.
couple from Oregon and I moved a couple from California.
Right. And what did they say? I just want to get out of here.
I just want to get out of
Right.
California. In fact, one of the couples bought this house and they got there and they're like, not exactly what we were looking for, but it gets us out of California.
Steve, final comments.
Basically, as far as the election integrity goes, can we clean it up? Sure, we've got some dusting to do. We've got some vacuuming. There's probably some things that just really should be handled and done before the next election. But overall, I still feel we can trust the government at this point. Hey, you better you got to show me better proof. It's my opinion.
So
Settle down, young lady.
I
Hey, it's just wrapping
I
up.
can show you
right.
proof in the
We
black
need
community
to-
where you should not trust the government.
Oh,
Okay.
wait. Now you
this-
got to remember,
All right, everybody stop.
I'm a middle-aged
this
white guy, man.
conversation just proves that we need to carry on.
Only if Zach comes
Okay.
back, because I got to listen
Zach.
to more of Zach.
Yeah, I'm there.
Talk to us, Zach.
If you care about the integrity of our elections, which, like I said before, is one of the most important things, and something that we hold so dear to Americans, get involved. Become a poll watcher. Become a poll worker. Bring your friends and family. This should be a day that we all celebrate. It shouldn't be a riot. I
Absolutely.
mean, this is one thing that we all share as Americans, no matter our backgrounds, no matter our states. Let's celebrate the fact that we have this liberty as our right written to us in the Constitution, and let's do everything we can to protect it.
Absolutely. I agree.
I
said.
totally agree.
Well said.
Yep. Love it. And that's a good way to end that. I'm Mike Sewell.
I'm Amy Alexander. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment.
Yeah, and get on our Facebook group. No doubt.